Rather than expanding the money supply in order to recover from this economic collapse, the Fed actually contracted it, fueling one of the largest depressions in history. Once again outraged, Congressman Louis McFadden, a longtime opponent of the banking cartels, began bringing impeachment proceedings against the Federal Reserve Board, saying of the crash and depression, it was a carefully contrived occurrence. International bankers sought to bring about a condition of despair so that they might emerge the rulers of us all. Not surprisingly, and after 2 previous assassination attempts, McFadden was poisoned at a banquet before he could push for the impeachment. Now, having reduced the society to squalor, the Federal Reserve bankers decided that the gold standard should be removed. In order to do this, they needed to acquire the remaining gold in the system. So, under the pretense of helping to end the Depression, came the 1933 gold seizure. Under the threat of imprisonment for 10 years, everyone in America was required to turn in all gold bullion to the Treasury, essentially robbing the public of what little wealth they had left. And at the end of 1933, the gold standard was abolished. If you look at a dollar bill from before 1933, it says it is redeemable in gold. You look at a dollar bill today, it says it is legal tender, which means it is backed by absolutely nothing. It is worthless paper. The only thing that gives our money value is how much of it is in circulation. Therefore, the power to regulate the money supply is also the power to regulate its value, which is also the power to bring entire economies and societies to its knees. It's important to clearly understand, the Federal Reserve is a private corporation. It is about as Federal Express. It makes its own policies and is under virtually no regulation by the U.S. government. It is a private bank that loans all the currency at interest to the government, completely consistent with the fraudulent central banking model that the country sought to escape from when it declared independence in the American Revolutionary War. Now, going back to 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was not the only unconstitutional bill pushed through Congress. They also pushed the federal income tax. It's worthwhile to point out that the American public's ignorance towards the federal income tax is a testament to how dumbed down and oblivious the American population really is. First of all, the federal income tax is completely unconstitutional, as it is a direct, unapportioned tax. All direct taxes have to be apportioned to be legal based on the Constitution. Secondly, the required number of states in order to ratify the amendment to allow the income tax was never met, and this has even been cited in modern court cases. Third, at the present day, roughly 35% of the average worker's income is taken from them via this tax. That means you work 4 months out of the year to fulfill this tax obligation. And guess where that money goes? It goes to pay the interest on the currency being produced by the fraudulent Federal Reserve Bank, a system that does not have to exist at all. The money you make working 4 months out of the year goes almost literally into the pockets of the international bankers who own the private Federal Reserve Bank. And fourth, even with the fraudulent government claim as to the legality of the income tax, there is literally no statute, no law in existence that requires you to pay this tax, period.
I really expected that, of course, there's a law that you can point to in the law book, the code, that requires you to file a tax return. Of course there is. I was at that point where I couldn't find the statute that clearly made a person liable, at least not me and most people I know. And I had no choice in my mind except to resign.
Based on the research that I did throughout the year 2000 and that I'm still doing, I have not found that law. I've asked Congress, we've asked a lot of people in the IRS commissioners, helpers. They can't answer, because if they answer, the American people are going to know that this whole thing is a fraud.
I haven't filed an federal income tax return since I left.
I have not filed a tax return since 1999.
The income tax is nothing less than the enslavement of the entire country. Now, the control of the economy and the perpetual robbery of wealth is only one side of the Rubik's Cube the bankers hold in their hands.
We truly do need alternative energy, and ethanol is a nice start, but it's not enough, so I'm working on some stuff myself. Like I have a wood-burning electric car, and what's cool about that is it, you don't need foreign oil, but it still pollutes enough to put a hole in the ozone. So, because I am pro-global warming, because I'm a summer kind of guy.
Not far below the Earth's surface, there is a great natural boiler. The boiler or reactor is the planet, the heat source is the magma, and the fuel is water in the sandstone layer that the magma changes from a liquid to superheated dry steam. Dry steam from the subterranean cauldron is collected in pipes to drive turbines to create electricity. This clean, free energy source in the form of steam comes up through steam wells and passes through ducts to a steam turbine designed to handle gas at 355 degrees Fahrenheit and 100 pounds per square inch of pressure. The steam turbine powers an electrical generator. Spent steam passes through a condenser where non-condensable gases like hydrogen sulfide are routed through scrubbers and cleaned. The surface condenser also cools the steam and turns it back into water. The water then goes to cooling towers where about 75% is evaporated as part of the cooling process and 25% is injected back into the steam reservoir. Other gases that are not condensable are hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, ammonia, mercury, arsenic, and radon. These gases are sent to scrubbers and cleaned to the point where they can be legally re-injected into the earth. The mercury is taken to a licensed hazardous waste storage facility, and the sulfur is collected and sold for use in making fertilizer, for soil enhancement, and to fight mold on grape leaves. In the future, hydrogen may be stored for use in fuel cells. Geothermal power plants are highly reliable and can operate 24 hours a day more than 95% of the time. Geothermal energy offers a large source of secure domestic energy. In addition, sales of geothermal technology enhance U.S. trade and stimulate the economy.
Tonight on Marketplace, Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, what's he doing on our show?
Well, he's been dying to get on Marketplace. He phones up every week, and tonight, believe it or not, he's selling a potential pollution-free fuel for our cars.
Wouldn't it be great if someone came up with a cheaper fuel of limitless supply? Well, in California, some businessmen claim they have. Let's hear their story. One of the people with money in it is pretty well known to most of us.
It's Jack Nicholson, all right. And the car he's driving is unique. It's a standard Chev with a standard engine, but what makes it unique is there's no gasoline in the car. It's running on hydrogen, and the hydrogen was produced by solar power. And this is the first demonstration.
Just like a standard Chevy, and I backed it up because, you know, the last time the automotive industry tried to destroy an independent industrialist, they said a Tucker wouldn't back up. You remember that? Yeah.
It's going to be harder to put this car down. This hydrogen-powered vehicle did back up, and it went forward. And this was last week in California. And the news cameramen were more intent on the car than they were on Mr. Nicholson. An engineer explained how it worked.
The gasoline facilities out of this car. They are not there anymore. This line goes into a carburetor. Now, this carburetor is very similar to the one that is in your car now, except that it's been altered to handle hydrogen gas rather than a mist of gasoline.
If nothing else, of course, this will revolutionize suicide. Instead of carbon monoxide poisoning, you'll just get a steam bath. Water. This change in process right here that you see coming up would take 58% of the air pollution out of every city in the world. I would say that a shift in the oil economy might change some of the politics of the world at this moment. There are a lot of very good things that could come from using the power of the sun.
Power of the sun. They claim that these small cells are the key. They aren't on the car. They'll be at the hydrogen production plant. These are prototypes, but they work. They're made of a silicon compound, and they're like small batteries. They absorb the power from the sun.
Number one, today, more than 56 billion kilograms of hydrogen are produced globally each year. This amount is equal to what would be consumed by 200 million fuel cell electric vehicles. And global hydrogen production is forecast to grow 45% in the next 3 years to 81 billion kilograms. That's an NHA forecast. The point here is that hydrogen industry is already a huge industry. It's a global industry. It uses mature technology, and it has an outstanding safety record. Number two,